Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Is it weird that I always repeat that? Maybe it's just a comforting thing. You know, people like unconsciously say, I notice I repeat a lot of things. We're gonna wait a couple of minutes. Well, I always say minutes, but it's more like seconds. Give people a chance to stroll on in here. I know it's Labor Day, but I am habit building, right? Habit building. So I didn't want to skip today. Today I'm actually here at 4:30. So, you know, want to do this thing right. So give it a minute or two. I wanted to see, maybe next time I'll come in with music. Thinking about this music piece. One of my colleagues was sharing an experience of starting off Zooms with music and how it was really calming for their anxiety of coming into the peace and space and not feeling like they had to do something once they come into that place and space with people, was having that music there and just feeling like they could come in a calm state and just wait and not feeling anxious of like, am I supposed to be doing something with this silence? I feel like in American culture, just sitting and being still is not something that we're really accustomed to doing. Hence why I'm talking. So maybe I'll try starting off with some music. Maybe that might be a good way to introduce some of my favorite tunes, and I think music is a really great segue into talking and opening up topics with kids too. When I teach the Vietnam War, I use music. When I taught it last summer, what song did I use? And the kids didn't know. War, war. And all the kids knew it from Rush Hour because they've seen that movie, but they didn't really realize that the song was actually about like the Vietnam War, and that really threw them for a loop. So that was fun, and actually like analyzing lyrics with the kids of songs. Of course we didn't start the fire. That was fun. Going off on a total tangent, but yeah, music. If you're not using music in your room, doesn't matter what you're teaching. Music is transcendent of topics. You should be using music in your room. It's a great way to open up different dialogues that perhaps would not have been able to been accessed. That's the way I'll say it. Yeah, so we'll give that a shot next time. See how that goes. All right. So I wanted to talk about today ally versus accomplice / co-conspirator. And I wanted to talk about that in conjunction with what's going on with the anti-bias educator, and what's going on a national stage as well. Of course, you can just never have, normal is not the right word, but routine. I don't think things are going to ever go back to the sense of the routine that they were before. Or if they do, it's going to be a very, very long time, and that routine is going to look different. So I stand by my initial statement. I don't think things are going back to that routine that we were in before. I think we are facing a new reality. And as a person who has studied history in different civilizations across different times, I think we are very much entering a new era of what the American experiment of democracy looks like and how people respond to that. A lot of times throughout our history as a nation, we have been able to operate under the guise of we are this, and we stand on these principles and we stand on this ideology, even when we haven't necessarily lived up to it. It is something that in the weaving of our story, right? In the weaving of our nation's history, of the the narrative we tell about who we are as a nation. This is what we strive for, and sometimes we fall short, but this is who we are for certain people. But you know, let's go with it. Yes. And it's really interesting to see that in a lot of places that pretense has fallen away and been laid bare in America, as a lot of people who have been excluded from that land of opportunity narrative have seen it from the underbelly. Is starting to be seen on an international stage, and also on a national stage as well. I don't think once the curtain is pulled back, you can close it. Once it's open, you can't close it. It's kind of like the Oz, right? Once the wizard is exposed, you can't go back to not knowing. Once you know, you know. So as we learn how to navigate this new space and these new things as people who have not known these things before, begin to start their journeys towards wanting to become first allies, and then starting to move from that space of allyship into hopefully co-conspirators and accomplices. What does that look like for them, right? And there's a difference between an ally and a co-conspirator. An ally is a person who cheers you on. A co-conspirator is somebody who gets their hands dirty with you, right? Like, they are in the trenches fighting with you. An ally is a person that, hey, I might send you what you need. You need some food, you need something. I'm gonna stay safe where I'm at and fight my other battles that I'm working on. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm gonna support you from where I'm at. And a co-conspirator and an accomplice, though, is going to give up that comfort and get in the trenches and in the battle with you and fight alongside you, not just sending their support. And for those that are joining the journey, it's okay to start out in allyship because you're figuring it out, right? People have been doing this work for centuries, right? You know, when you come in, don't come in loud and wrong. That's the worst thing that you can do. It's okay to come in quiet and silent and sit in the back and figure things out, and then start to take action. I think the biggest thing, I was reading this article and it was talking, I can't remember, I believe it was in the Medium, I can't remember the author of it. But they were talking about how basically they're just was saying that the anger that Black and Indigenous people, excuse me, I was referring to the acronym in my head, is not the same anger that white allies can tap into. And what we need from white allies and white accomplices and co-conspirators is to, as people are waking up and wanting to join into the fight, is to welcome their fellow white comrades in arms into it, and not to, just because you're further in the journey, not to hold that over fellow white people's heads, right? Not to talk down to them, not to do those things, and educate them on a one-on-one level, because as a Black person, it is exhausting to work with people and try to convince them on a basic level that of my humanity, right? And so this goes back to like my business model, right? I mentioned earlier in another video that I have a business partner, Sarah, who we're gonna bring on in this month, later in this month. But that is our understanding and agreement that when we are having one-on-one conversations, I am not a part of those conversations. I am burnt out on those conversations. I don't have those conversations, because if I have to convince you of my humanity, I don't have anything to talk to you about. If that's the starting base for you, I'm not the person to have that conversation with you, because there's too much emotionally invested in me. All those stereotypes that play in the back of your mind of the angry Black woman, I'm gonna be passionate, I'm gonna be loud, all those things, I can't check that, because I am arguing my humanity to you. and you're expecting me to do it in a non-emotional, I can't do that. You can't ask somebody to do that. And so my accomplice, my co-conspirator, Sarah, steps in, and that's her burden to carry for me, right? Because she's not arguing her humanity. So it's a different burden that she's gonna carry it in a different way, right? And so I would say that right now in this moment, where I can't speak for other people, I can only speak for me, Stephanie, Elaine, Tellis, White, what I need from white people who are trying to be about in this moment and are trying to be helpful and are trying to put their best foot forward I need you to check your fellow white people, but I need you to do it not in a way that shuts them down, but in a way that invites them in. I need you not to do it in a way where you're pontificating your intelligence and your enlightenment and how much you're so much better than them. Like, that's not helpful for them. That's not helpful for me, because you're shutting down a person out of a conversation. In the same way that somebody held your hand and walked you through the process, that's what's needed, right? Grace. Because I don't have the grace to extend to a person that I'm trying to argue my humanity to. I can't extend it. I cannot. If I have to explain my humanity to you, I can't extend grace to you. I'm not in that place and space. When I first started this journey, I could have those conversations. I can't no more. I just can't. And I understand that those conversations are super important and they need to be had. And that's why I partner with Sarah, because those conversations are important. I'm just not the person to have them with people. And we have to know what our lanes are and what our work is, right? And making sure that we're equipped, right? And now we're just not out here all willy-nilly in the streets doing whatever because we just think we can do whatever. And that goes for everybody in this, right? Like, interpersonal conversations are really hard for some people. One-on-one interpersonal conversations are really hard for me personally. Now, education is something that I'm really passionate about, clearly the title of this business. You want to talk about curriculum, you want to talk about coaching in terms of your teaching practices, things along those lines, I got you. Things along those lines. And we can also talk about complex subjects and things along those lines. We can sit down all day for hours and delve into that. We can talk about intersectionality, interwoven identities, all of those things. And so I say all that to say is, like, you got to find your lane and work within it. And this is a lifelong journey, right? It's not a place that you ever arrive at. It's not something that you ever master, because the insidious thing about racism and all the isms is that they are a breathing systemic, it's a system, right? So systems, they interact with each other, they morph, they move so they can continue to exist. So when there's a threat perceived to the system adapts and changes so it can continue to exist and eventually at some point thrive, right? And that's what racism does. It adapts, changes, figures out how to thrive again. And so just when you figured out, like, okay, this is the right way to do this, the system is adapted, it's figured out this other way to move forward and cause havoc in another way. So you can never rest and sit and be like, I figured it out, I got it, I'm good, bloop, I'm done. That's not how it works. It's an ever ongoing thing that you have to be present about. And that causes, for some people, fatigue. Well, I would say for everybody, fatigue. But for some people, the fatigue becomes too much and they just want to tap out. And I understand that impulse, because it is tiring and it's exhausting. But when your life literally is at stake and the people that you love, their lives are at stake, you can't tap out. It's not something that you could do. So, I say all that to say, you got to keep pushing, right? Like, welcome wherever it is that you are. Keep striving, keep pushing, keep digging, listen with an open heart, listen, take the critique. It sucks sometimes to hear that you are not doing things right. It doesn't feel good to feel, especially if you're going into it with good intentions, but intentions don't trump impact. And you could be wanting to do the right thing and in your mind thinking you're doing the right thing, but if you're not actually doing the right thing and what you're doing is actually causing harm, you got to be able to hear that. Or if what you're doing is not actually pushing hard enough, and if you're not, you know, or if what you were doing was helpful 5 years ago and it's not actually helpful now, that you got to hear those critiques and you got to hear that feedback. And it's tough sometimes, but together, you know, it's a constant process of chipping away. I've mentioned before in other videos of the way that we teach the movement is inconsistent and wrong, and because of that, people have this idealized understanding of that the movement was just like one massive wave of success, and then everything was done, and that's not how it happened. That, like, we are still in the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement began in Reconstruction. Let's be very clear about that. A lot of people don't know what Reconstruction is. And maybe that's what I need to do, is sit down and do some videos about some histories and putting some things together, because there's some gaps in some knowledge, and when those gaps are filled in, things start to make a lot more sense, because you're like, oh, I get it, this leads to this, this leads to this, which leads to this, and things start to make a lot more sense about why our society looks and operates the way that it does. And it's not by accident, it's not by like, oh, woo, it is by intentional design. We are a hot mess by design. Let's be very clear about what we are. A hot mess by design. But, you know, we have to strive to make the world a better place for the generations that are coming after us, and for ourselves as well. Like, you know, it's not just for future, it's for now too, right? I didn't think that some of the social pressure that would apply would be successful as it is right now, and that is heartening to see and to hear. But we have to keep fighting, and we have to keep pressing on. And yeah, that's that. I don't know if this was like uplifting. I don't feel like it was necessarily depressing. I think it's just kind of like, it is what it is. It's a real talk moment with Stephanie of white accomplices. You are very much needed in this work. But you got to come correct, because the moving of the needle that you all can do is powerful. It's powerful in a positive way and powerful in a negative way too. So that's what I got for today's topic. Updates again. The course is still coming out. I should have some information being posted up this week about some webinars coming up about the course. Should be the webinars will either start this week or next week, but the information about the webinars will get posted up within a week from this video. And let's see. Wait. There's something. Podcast is still coming. It is called the Sit Down. Trusty dusty calendar. Sit Down with Razine. That is the name of it. And it is. I feel like the 18th. Yes. The 18th. So next Friday. I will make sure that I post that information once I have it so that you all can come. It'll be on Facebook Live. I know, so you'll get 2 lives from me in 1 week. Ha ha ha. Yes, look at you all. That is all the wonderful newness that is coming out right now. I will see you all on the 14th. Tomorrow's the first day of school. Wish your girl luck. It's gonna be. It's gonna be. That's what it's gonna be. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon and evening and a wonderful rest of the week. God bless. Enjoy.